Ever tried holding your breath? Have you had to endure temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius? Have you gone to bed without having dinner? Even though you may think you were reaching your limit, the truth is the human body can withstand much more than we think. Just don't try this at home. Let's start with the temperature. What's the minimum body temperature we can withstand? Unfortunately, our bodies weren't made for the cold, having evolved in the hot climates of the African savanna, where shedding heat is more important than retaining it. So, without any clothing, it becomes difficult to protect our internal temperature, which sits at around 37 degrees Celsius. But when your body is cold and loses heat faster than it can produce it, then your internal temperature starts to drop. When it drops below 2 degrees Celsius, you'll enter hypothermia. You'll experience intense shivering and your skin will turn pale as the blood moves away from your extremities. At 30 degrees, you'll lose consciousness. And at 25 degrees, you'll suffer a cardiac arrest. 1 degree less, and death is nearly certain. However, there was a woman who greatly surpassed this limit, and her experience went on to change medical history. Anna Wagenholm was skiing when she plunged headfirst onto a layer of ice on a frozen river. Her body got trapped under a 20-centimeter thick layer of ice for 80 minutes, causing her internal temperature to drop to 13.7 degrees. Anna suffered a cardiac arrest but was never seen again. Before the cold stopped her heart, the constant flow of icy water had already cooled her vital organs, especially her brain, to the point that the demand for oxygen was significantly reduced, meaning she needed very little oxygen to survive. Even though Anna was clinically dead for over 2 hours, the low temperature preserved her brain and vital organs before her heart stopped. This delay in neuronal death is what allowed the medical team to revive her. And not only did she recover, but Anna's incident changed medical procedures and introduced the use of therapeutic hypothermia. This involves cooling the patient's body to a mild hypothermia, between 32 and 34 degrees Celsius, in order to protect the patient during heart surgeries, as well as for victims of stroke, liver failure, and epileptic seizures. So, 13.7 degrees Celsius is the lowest recorded body temperature. But how much heat can we handle? One of the world's toughest ultramarathons is the Badwater Ultramarathon. It takes place in July in Death Valley, California, a place that is, quite literally, the hottest on Earth. Indeed, in 1913, a temperature of 134 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded, the highest in history. Participants have to cover 135 miles under these conditions, with a dropout rate of 30%. The record time to complete it is 21.5 hours. So what happens if you stay in California? The amount of external heat you can withstand largely depends on your physique, exertion, and hydration, among other factors. But generally speaking, you can endure up to 60 degrees in very humid conditions. Humidity plays a crucial role because it can slow down or prevent sweat from evaporating, making you even hotter. Within 10 minutes in such an environment, your internal temperature could rise to 40 degrees, leading to severe hyperthermia. Your organs will start to shut down, and without assistance, you will end up dying. Yes, however, the highest internal body temperature ever recorded was that of Willie Jones, who was admitted to the hospital during a heat wave in Atlanta with a body temperature of 46.5 degrees Celsius. He spent 24 days in the hospital and incredibly survived. How long can we hold our breath? You might find it tough to last more than a minute, but truth is, most of us could hold our breath for up to 3 minutes, right? But there's a specific technique called static apnea, where you have to hold your breath, motionless, face down in cold water. Using this method, the Frenchman Stéphane Mifsud set the record in 2009 by holding his breath for 11 minutes and 35 seconds. But why does this technique work? It's because of something called the mammalian diving reflex. When you submerge your face in cold water, your blood vessels constrict. Blood is diverted from your extremities to your heart and brain. This results in a reduction of blood pulse and the rate of oxygen pumping throughout the body. Before you try to hold your breath, people hyperventilate. This is because your brain monitors the level of carbon dioxide in your blood. Rapid breathing clears CO2 from your body and delays your urge to breathe, allowing you to take in a big gulp of air. But hold on, there's more. If you take a breath of pure oxygen beforehand, you can double that time. The Spaniard Alex Segura Vendrell set a world record in 2016, holding his breath for 24 minutes and 3 seconds. How long can we last without water? It totally depends on the circumstances. Imagine you're doing intense exercise on a very hot and sunny day. In that case, you'd be losing about 1.5 liters of water every hour. If you don't hydrate, your blood volume drops, and in turn, your blood pressure falls. Your blood gets thicker and stickier, and pumping it throughout your body becomes more difficult. Your heart rate will have to increase to compensate for this. At a certain point, you'll stop sweating, which will make you even hotter as you continue to dehydrate. Within a few hours, you'll die. In the opposite scenario, in a cold place with very little physical effort, you could last about a week. But these are two extreme cases. Under normal conditions, a person can survive about 3 or 4 days without water. But why is that? Austrian Andreas Mihavich far surpassed this mark. He was mistakenly taken to a cell, and once there, they forgot about him for 18 days. Though there's some controversy about this record, as it's argued he survived by licking the condensation of the cell walls. But why? How long can we go without food? In this case, being obese would actually help. A study published in 1973 by the University of Medicine in Dundee showcases the case of the Scotsman Angus Barbieri, who weighed 456 pounds. Throughout his fast, doctors monitored him until he reached his goal weight of 160 pounds. This took place over a period of 382 days, more than a year. During that time, Angus only consumed zero-calorie drinks like tea, coffee, and carbonated water, and also vitamins. But being fat only helps you survive that long if you have access to enough water-soluble vitamin B to help metabolize your fat reserves. Without this, your chances of survival are significantly reduced. Also, it's entirely possible to die of starvation while still being fat. Other fasting cases with proper hydration have survived between 46 and 73 days. The British Medical Journal concluded its investigation in 1997. The limit of human survival for a well-hydrated adult is 30 to 40 days. Severe and possibly reversible symptoms show up between days 35 and 40. Death occurs after 45 days. And this leads us to the next question. How many times can we end up eating molten lava over time? Abun padisit, adem daria. Moving on to the next question. How long can we live? This is somewhat controversial to answer because there are various studies with contradictory findings. Some scientists believe there's a maximum age that humans cannot exceed. The renowned genetics expert Jan Weig has been analyzing the International Longevity Database aiming to identify trends. This Dutch researcher asserts that after decades of significant increases in human lifespan, the growth of the maximum age limit slowed down in the 80s and has now halted, with the maximum age limit being 115 years. Dr. Weig's team acknowledges there might be an occasional anomaly, though it isn't the only one. Would need 10,000 worlds like ours to get the chance of someone reaching the age of 125 years. When this finite age was published, it sparked a debate within the scientific community, and many criticized Weig's work. A more recent study found that once you reach the age of 105, the risk of dying stabilizes. What does this mean? Let's take, for instance, someone who's 50 years old. At that age, they're 3 times more likely to die within the next year than someone who's 30. On the other hand, someone who has made it to 115 years old has the same chance of living to 106 as someone who is 120 has of reaching 121. Their chances of dying do not increase anymore. Moreover, statistically, the number of people now reaching 105 is on the rise. Study co-author and professor of demography and statistics Kenneth Watcher believes that this is strong evidence that if there is a maximum limit to human life, we are not near it yet. The world record belongs to the French woman Jeanne-Louise Calment. She died in 1997 at the age of 122 years and 164 days. This means that when she was born, in 1875, the telephone did not even exist yet. The Eiffel Tower and cinema were still 15 years away from being created. Today, the oldest living person is Kane Tanaka from Japan, who is 117 years old. And the oldest living man is Spaniard Saturnino de la Fuente, who is 111. These are the oldest Hispanics on record that have been verified. But there is also another list of older Hispanic individuals, though their ages have yet to be verified. And how long can we survive after death? In 2008, a 59-year-old American woman, Belma Thomas, had a heart attack. The doctors tried everything to resuscitate her, even using techniques learned from Bagenholm's case, inducing hypothermia. But for 17 hours, no brain activity, pulse or blood pressure was detected, so they decided to disconnect her. But 10 minutes later, as the doctors were removing the breathing tubes, Belma moved her arm, coughed, and woke up. How long can we go without any sleep? I've already made a more detailed video on this topic. But in summary, the American Randy Gardner achieved the impressive record of 264 hours straight, that's 11 days. Reports of this feat showed that his mental health remained stable, and he even won a game of pinball on the 10th day. However, the American wasn't the only one who fell asleep in his bed. However, one of the researchers reports the complete opposite, noting that he experienced delusions, memory loss, paranoia, and fragmented thinking. On the last day, his speech was not coherent, and he had a very short attention span. In fact, the Guinness World Records no longer includes voluntary sleep deprivation as a record category, in order not to encourage further attempts. Yet challenges to this title have been recorded, reaching a staggering 449 hours, which is almost 19 days. While there are no recorded cases of people being forced to stay awake long enough to kill them, there is a condition called fatal familial insomnia, which completely prevents sleep and seems to be the final limit, with victims dying within a span of 3 months. And you? What limit has your body reached? Share your answer in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this one.